Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I've been working in the food service industry since I was 16. Started at a small diner, moved to a coffee shop, and eventually landed at one of those big fast food chains when I had turned 18. The pay was decent and honestly, the work wasn't too bad. That is until corporate decided to innovate our drive-through system. See, our location only had one drive-through lane, but someone higher up had this brilliant idea to create a temporary second lane, using traffic cones in the parking lot. It actually worked pretty well for customers, but for us employees, pure chaos. We had to dodge cars while carrying orders back and forth, rain or shine. I got assigned as a runner for the second lane. My job was simple: take payments, give change, and deliver food. Most customers were okay, some were impatient, and a few were complete jerks. But this one guy, he took it to a whole new level. It was a busy afternoon shift when this beat-up Honda Civic pulled up. I tried to approach his window to confirm his order, but before I could even finish my greeting, he nearly ran over my foot while inching his car forward. I jumped back but kept my customer service smile plastered on. I tried again to confirm if it was his order, but he just waved his hand dismissively without even looking at me. Fine, whatever. I gave him his total, something around $10, and he handed me a $100 bill. Now, we're supposed to get manager approval for anything over $50, but I'd handled enough cash in my previous jobs to spot a fake. This bill, definitely counterfeit. Instead of calling him out immediately, I decided to have some fun. I quickly jotted down his license plate number and headed back inside. I told my co-workers we needed to call the police because the guy had just handed me a fake 100. My manager asked if I was sure, and I told her to check it herself. While my manager verified the bill, the guy started shouting from his car. He was yelling about being a busy man and not having time for this nonsense. I walked back out with my best apologetic expression and fed him a line about the kitchen running behind, promising extra fries for the trouble. He grumbled at me to hurry up. My manager confirmed it was fake and called the police. Meanwhile, Mr. Impatient started getting more aggressive. He was now screaming about wanting his money back right away. I suggested he pull up and come inside, telling him we could sort it out and maybe get him some discount coupons for the inconvenience. He stomped into the restaurant, still running his mouth about how important he was and how we were wasting his time. That's when the police cars pulled up. Our restaurant has floor-to-ceiling windows, so he saw them immediately. The color drained from his face faster than a melting milkshake. He tried to make a break for it, but the police had already blocked his car in. When they were putting him in handcuffs, he kept screaming threats at us, saying we were all dead and that he knew our faces. The police told us later that this wasn't his first rodeo. He had multiple outstanding warrants and was known for passing counterfeit bills at different businesses. They wanted me to testify if the case went to court, but it never did. Turns out he had enough priors that they didn't need my testimony to put him away for a while. Corporates actually used this incident to justify installing security cameras in our makeshift second lane. They also finally approved the budget for a permanent second drive-through lane, complete with proper safety measures for employees. Sometimes it takes catching a criminal to get management to care about worker safety. So yeah, that's how my boring fast food job turned into an impromptu sting operation. The guy's probably still sitting in jail thinking twice about trying to pass fake bills at drive-thrus. And I got Employee of the Month, which came with a whole 25-cent raise. Living the dream, right? 6 months ago, I took what I thought would be a temporary job at a local coffee shop while continuing my job search. I was promoted to shift supervisor, and honestly, I started enjoying the work more than I expected. That Monday morning started like any other busy day. We were short-staffed because one of our baristas called in sick, and to make matters worse, our morning delivery hadn't arrived on time. I was already juggling multiple tasks when she walked in. Karen strutted up to the counter and demanded a venti latte with soy milk extra hot. She didn't even look at me while ordering, just kept scanning the shop with this disgusted look on her face, as if our clean, well-maintained cafe personally offended her. I politely told her the price would be $4.50 and asked if she wanted anything else. That's when she asked about almond milk. I knew this wouldn't end well. Our supplier had mixed up deliveries, and we were completely out of almond milk. I apologetically explained the situation to her, mentioning that we expected a delivery later that day but currently had soy, coconut, and oat milk as alternatives. Her face twisted like I'd just insulted her entire family. She went off on a rant about how unacceptable it was to run out of such a basic item, questioning what kind of coffee shop we were to not have almond milk. I apologized again and tried to explain about the delivery issue, suggesting our other milk options. She let out an exaggerated sigh and grudgingly agreed to the soy milk, but not without adding a threat about coming back to complain if it was watered down or overcooked. I started making her drink, feeling her glaring at my bag the entire time. Just as I was about to pour the steamed soy milk, she leaned over the counter, getting way too close to my face. She spat out words about fixing the situation, calling our service incompetent, and complaining about not having time for this. Before I could respond, a customer who had been waiting in line stepped forward. He was wearing workout clothes and had a calm but authoritative presence. He told Karen there was no need to speak to me like that. Karen tried pushing past him, but he didn't budge, stating that he wouldn't let her bully me. That's when things went completely off the rails. Karen started swinging her arms wildly, trying to hit him. He kept dodging, staying calm the whole time, and repeatedly asking her to calm down, assuring her he didn't want to fight. But Karen was beyond reasoning. She kept throwing punches and screaming like a banshee. The whole cafe went silent, watching this scene unfold. After dodging several more attacks, the customer finally had to act. In one smooth motion, he caught her arm mid-swing and used her own momentum to bring her down to the ground. She hit the floor with a thud and went still. I immediately called emergency services, my hands shaking as I dialed. When they arrived, they found Karen still on the ground, though by then she had started to come around. She groggily asked what happened and where she was. The police took statements from everyone, and the customer explained how he had only acted in self-defense after Karen's repeated attacks. It turned out he was a self-defense instructor at a local gym, which explained his controlled response to the situation. The entire incident was captured on our security cameras. Karen tried claiming she was the victim, but the footage showed everything clearly. She was arrested for assault and disturbing the peace. A week later, I found out she had been ordered to take anger management classes and was banned from our coffee shop. She became a local meme when someone posted our security footage online, earning her the nickname Coffee Shop Karen. The self-defense instructor became a regular at our shop. I always make sure his morning coffee is on the house, though he insists on paying every time. I was always an easy target in primary school. Being sensitive and quiet didn't help, especially in a school system where kids from 9 to 16 years old shared the same building. Our school was pretty small, with just 2 ways to get in: the main entrance and this tiny side door that led from the garden. That side entrance was a nightmare during rush hours, with a narrow staircase leading to a door that could barely fit one person. There was this older student, about 16 years old, who made my life miserable when I was 10. Let's call him the Brat. He was your typical wannabe rebel, always wearing this purple hoodie and emo hair covering half his face. He was friends with one of my classmates, which gave him plenty of opportunities to torment me during breaks. He'd seek me out just to tell me I looked like someone with mental disabilities, using much nastier words, and that I'd get beaten up lots in the future. Being the scared kid I was, I'd just mumble "I know" and try to disappear. This went on for weeks, and each time it happened, I felt a little bit of anger building up inside me. It wasn't just me being oversensitive anymore. This guy was deliberately making my life hell. Then came the day I finally snapped. We were all trying to get through that tiny door from the garden, and the Brat just happened to be there. He shoved me against the wall, and for the first time ever, I fought back, I hit him in the back, probably felt like a mosquito bite to him, but it was a huge moment for me. I quickly forgot about it and went to class. Big mistake. The brat was waiting for me after school. As soon as I walked out, I saw him drop his bag and storm toward me. He started yelling at me, asking if I wanted something while calling me a jerk. When I asked him what I would want, things got scary. He grabbed me by the neck and started screaming at me to talk to him if I dared. I tried to defend myself, throwing a punch that landed weakly on his side. He let go of my neck, only to punch me twice in the face. I fell to the ground crying, my vision blurry with tears. As I stumbled away, he kept shouting obscenities at me. But here's where karma stepped in. Our school usually had police officers helping kids cross at the zebra crossing twice a week. Guess what? This was one of those days. As I turned the corner, still covering my beaten face, I saw the police car and two officers. They immediately noticed something was wrong and asked what happened. I pointed toward the guy in the purple hoodie and they sprang into action. The brat tried to run, which was probably the dumbest thing he could have done. One officer chased him on foot while the other followed in the car. They caught him pretty quickly and brought him back in handcuffs. We all ended up in the principal's tiny office. Me, the brat, both our mothers, the principal, two police officers, and even two paramedics because my ear was bleeding. It was like a clown car in there. The paramedics checked my injuries while everyone else tried to make sense of what had happened. My ear had a small cut where it had hit the ground, and there was already a bruise forming on my cheek. Our mothers were livid. Even the brat's mom was disgusted by what her son had done. A 16-year-old beating up a 10-year-old, that crossed every line. She kept apologizing to my mom and me while shooting disappointed looks at her son. The brat just sat there, his tough guy act completely dissolved, staring at the floor and occasionally mumbling excuses that nobody was buying. The police officers were especially stern with him. They explained that attacking a much younger student wasn't just bullying, it was assault, plain and simple. They took statements from everyone, including some other students who had witnessed the incident. The whole process took hours, and by the time we left the school, it was almost dark outside. The brat got exactly what he deserved. He was charged with assault and harassment, got sent to a reformatory school, and had to do community service. His community service involved cleaning public toilets and picking up trash in the local park. Quite a change from his tough guy image. Some of my classmates who saw him during his community service said he looked completely different. No more swagger in his step, no more intimidating presence. His purple hoodie became his uniform at the reformatory school, but this time it had his student number printed on it in big bold letters. No more hiding behind that emo hair either. They had strict grooming standards. From what I heard, he had to keep his hair short and neat, completely destroying his carefully crafted rebel image. Word got around school pretty quickly, and suddenly, the other bullies weren't so bold anymore. It was like someone had flipped a switch. The same kids who used to laugh at his jokes when he picked on me now avoided talking about him altogether. I was in my second year of engineering, living in the campus dorms. The housing department and I had a complicated relationship after I filed multiple complaints about their room assignment decisions. They seemed to have a talent for pairing me with the most challenging roommates possible. Living at the end of the hallway gave me some peace, but I had front row seats to one of the most bizarre incidents I've ever witnessed. It involved three key players: a 50-year-old developmentally delayed student who weighed about 350 pounds of pure muscle, let's call him the music lover, and two graphic design students who lived near the entrance. We'll call them Artist 1 and Artist 2. The music lover was doing some academic upgrading courses. He was generally friendly but had some anger management issues. His sister had gifted him a cassette boombox and a Shania Twain tape for his birthday. This is where our story really begins. One morning at 6 a.m., I woke up to Shania Twain blasting at full volume. The music lover had developed a unique habit. He'd play one song, rewind it while still in play mode, creating this awful screeching noise, and then play the same song again, and again, and again. After 3 hours of this torture, silence suddenly fell. The contrast was so stark that I actually got worried and went to check if he was okay. Turned out he'd just gone to take a shower. I decided to check on Artist 1 and Artist 2 since their rooms were right next to his. Artist 2 seemed relatively composed, but Artist 1 was a different story. Artist 1 was at his wit's end, declaring that he couldn't take it anymore and threatening to smash the boombox. I warned him that it probably wasn't a good idea, given the music lover's history of aggressive behavior. Artist 1 was beyond reasoning though, insisting that he hadn't slept in days and didn't care about the consequences. I retreated to my room, closed the door, and waited for the inevitable chaos. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the music lover's enraged voice echoed through the hallway. He'd returned to find his boombox intact but missing its power cord. He started screaming about jerks and idiots, and oddly enough, threatened to have the police on us like oranges. What happened next was like a scene from a movie. He threw off his bathrobe and started running up and down the hallway completely naked, pounding on doors, continuing his tirade about jerks and oranges. His face was red, foam was coming from his mouth, and even his hair seemed to be standing on end. I called campus security partly because it was necessary and partly because I wanted to share some of my housing-related misery with them. I explained to them that we had a situation with the music lover that required their immediate attention. The smallest security guard arrived just as the music lover had extended his naked rampage into the women's wing. The guard tried to assert his authority, ordering the music lover back to his room. In response, the music lover threatened to snap the guard's neck, adding some colorful insults about the guard's height. The security guard's face went white as he turned and ran. The music lover chased him down 3 flights of stairs and trapped him in the security office. It took 8 police officers to finally subdue him and get him into a police car. We never saw the music lover again after that incident. The artists got their peace and quiet, but at what cost? I can't hear Shania Twain without thinking about a naked man chasing a security guard down the stairs. The aftermath was almost as entertaining as the incident itself. The housing department suddenly became very attentive to my concerns. My next roommate was a quiet engineering student who actually studied and went to bed at reasonable hours. The security guard involved in the incident took a 2-week vacation, and when he returned, he'd developed an interesting habit of taking the long way around our building during his patrols. Artist 1 and Artist 2 became minor celebrities in the dorm. Everyone wanted to hear their first-hand account of the Shania incident, as it came to be known. They eventually confessed that stealing the power cord had been a sleep-deprived decision made after their 5th cup of coffee. The cord mysteriously reappeared in the lost and found box a week later. The women's wing residents started a petition to install better security doors, which was approved in record time. The dorm rules were also updated to include a specific clause about appropriate noise levels during quiet hours and, oddly enough, a dress code for hallway conduct. The housing department finally started taking my roommate complaints more seriously after that. I guess sometimes it takes a naked man screaming about oranges to make people listen. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.